For this month, Africans and people of African descent are coming to Ghana to participate in one of Africa's biggest cultural festivals, PANAFEST and Emancipation Day. The year marks 400 years in the history of African enslavement. So PANAFEST and Emancipation Day will commemorate that tremendous contribution of Africans to the prosperity of England and other colonizing countries of the period, and also examine the impact of that lengthy period of servitude on Africa. In the studio with me is Kwesi Ajman, who is CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority. You're welcome, Ms. Ajman.
Thank you.
I also have here in the studio Professor A.C. Sutherland, Chairperson of PANAFEST Foundation. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
It's indeed a privilege to have you both here on the show. So we've given our viewers a bit more about what PANAFEST is all about. And for me, it sounds a bit of an abstract term because I remember it when I was growing up. But if you look at, over the years, we've not really given it, if you like, the sort of spotlight that perhaps it deserves. So educate for people like me, give us a bit more information on how PANAFEST has fared. Has it gone down? Has it been there? Have we just not paid attention to it? Where did it go?
Where did it go? That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, PANAFEST has suffered from some uncertainties with regard to whether we can afford it or not as a nation. Okay. Also suffered along with other cultural industries and the cultural economy. People are beginning to understand that indeed, the intangible elements are actually some things that we can benefit from, and this is worldwide. So we're beginning to get more traction now that people are understanding that it is not just something that you do for the sake of it, but you can actually concretize it in the lives of people.
Right, and it's not as abstract as for some of us it has been. But so I get the connection between PANAFEST and the Tourism Authority. We're looking to bring back home a lot of Ghanaians who are in the diaspora. So we get the link already. What is going to be special about this particular PANAFEST?
All right, thanks. I believe we all know this is the year of return, 400 years since the first enslaved Africans arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. And so having declared 400 years, having declared a year of return, it was crucial that we look for pillars. And so over the year, we have a steering committee made up of PANAFEST, Office of Diaspora Affairs, a DINCRE group, and so many other stakeholders. We said, what are the strong pillars that we can build on? Because we look at Ghana's Pan-African legacy, and PANAFEST is one of them. If you trace our history to our founding fathers, Osagyefo and Co, OAU, back to PANAFEST, back to being the first African country to celebrate emancipation since 1998, it showed glaringly that we couldn't leave out PANAFEST. So PANAFEST became one of the things that we were building up to. So from January, when we started with the Tina Festival, Back to Africa, Africa Cultural Awareness Festival, Jaga Fest, Jamaica Ghana Festival, Yenko Festival, all the things that were
a lot of things have gone on.
We always knew that this was more like the peak.
So PANAFEST is going to essentially crown it all.
It's not a crowning moment yet, but we still have so many others.
But
for us, this is more like the peak of the mountain.
Okay.
So we will still have we'll still have
other programs coming up. We'll get to go into the timelines. But Prof, I'm coming back to you to educate for people who have been quite disconnected from the story.
Yes.
What are the significance of the highlight of this history that we share that you can share with us, just as a reminder to whip up interest in PANAFEST and all the activities associated with it?
Okay, so maybe we should start from the present.
Okay.
And we should know that we have our compatriots are, going across the desert. They are in Libya. They're trying to cross the sea. They are getting drowned. So they get there and people want them to go home. I'm sure that you know that President Trump has even asked, some people to go home because they are migrants. So, there is that stigma that is as a result of years and years and years of servitude, oppression, and so on. So it's with us now, and I think that that's the first thing that we have to realize. So that history is our history. It's just broken in half. How do you bring it together so that there's a greater understanding, so that you are not looking at an African American in terms of what you see in a film, or an African American is not looking at you in terms of what they see in a documentary where there are flies around your baby's mouth. And, that how do we link up? And why should we link up? Sometimes you shouldn't ask that question. If you had a cousin or a nephew or something who had gone away for a long time, you should be willing to find out what happened to them. They should be willing to find out what happened to you. But more to the point, we were not just servile. Many of these people who went away resisted. They fought. They did all they could in order to put their foot down and say, I'm not accepting this. Now we have accepted, today we're accepting a lot of things that shouldn't be happening to us. Maybe if we looked back at what they had done in the midst of all that danger and so on, we would be inspired to take care of our minerals, to make sure that we are not selling out to
I'm just wondering how easy it will be to tell this kind of story. We've been trying to tell this story for many years now, but we still have our young people, making that deadly journey.
Yes.
And someone has actually made this joke about saying, if you should put down previously people were enslaved, people were taken forcefully away to these countries. But today they say if you should put a ship at the port today and say, hey, who wants to come on board? We're going to England. Who wants to come on board? We're going to America. Even as slaves, they say the people who are going to troop into that boat or ship would amaze you. What is the missing link? Is it that we've not really shared our the struggles of the people and how they were taken? Is it that we've not shared the struggles of the people and how they themselves had to struggle even when they got there to be where they are, and how they some of them still seem to live with the anger from the past?
I think there are two things. One, we have a new form of slavery, which is the mental slavery. We've become mental slaves. Even if we don't run into the ships and go, I mean, you put goods here, and one is made in Ghana, one is made in UK. All of a sudden, somebody says, I would like this one.
But that has its own dynamics.
It has its own dynamics, but it has a certain mind shift that we need to work on. That we are the people that we are. And so, in trying to celebrate the resilience of the African spirit, what we're trying to do is also to start that consciousness that we all need to be aware of the fact that people that were taken away actually built the country that we are so much in a hurry to run to.
Isn't that a far-fetched argument to make?
It's not at all.
Okay.
So it's time we build our own.
Okay.
So it's time for us to come back to
and I'm really happy about the response I got to this question, because this is a question that people have asked. It is a question on the minds of people that when we keep saying, well, they built the countries, well, the countries had a plan and they only used our people to build that plan. That's an argument.
They used our people.
That's an argument that people have made. How do we work on that? Okay, so hold on.
If you're on a
and I get the feeling. I absolutely get the feeling, but I have to ask the question.
Okay,
So it is the feeling that people have, but again, there are questions that need to be answered. And one of those questions is, well, the people had a plan. What is our own plan? What has been our own plan? What scientific evidence do we have that if those people were still in this country, that they would have still made this country as, the other countries we envy are?
Oh, I think that, that's exactly the kind of self-defeatist, spirit that we are talking about. I mean, if you are, today, you go to some villages, and because the young people have left and come to Accra, let's just stay in Ghana, you see that the villages are sinking.
Okay.
Broken.
But then when they start going back and investing back in the village, you see that the village is picking up. Okay,
Right.
so we know that, and we do that all the time, and that's the sort of thing that we need to also do for the country and the continent.
Which is why I'm excited about this, what we're doing now.
Yes.
Because these questions have been asked, and people need answers to settle it for them in their
For
minds. So I
themselves.
believe that this really, the homecoming
Yes,
initiative is a
absolutely.
great way of bringing
Absolutely.
them back. But how
Yes.
has it been so far? Are we seeing any tangible result with which we can boast and say, well, this is what we have done, this is how we want to go?
Before we talk about the tangibles, I want to
Okay.
even dwell on the intangibles.
Great.
I mean, seeing people come to Ghana, to the airport, kiss the soil, cry, it's not something, it's priceless.
True.
Seeing the sort of focus that the worldwide media has put on Ghana this year. I mean, mention any international media outlet, and they focused on Ghana this year as one of the top destinations
For
to
tourism.
visit. Yes, and it couldn't have been. It's not something we could have paid for. Rwanda just paid 30 million pounds for the sleeve of the Arsenal's jersey. The sort of eyeballs and years that we've been able to generate from the year of return, it's not something that we could have paid for. So in terms of that, the intangible, the media mileage that we've gotten. But back to the basics of what we're trying to do. We're looking at several things. We're not asking people to just come and then go and never come back. This is the first step to something that we hope will help rebuild our country and the continent. And if you look at the history of PANAFEST, we've had, if you go to Cape Coast now, we have stories of people who came to PANAFEST, came back and have integrated in the society, have businesses that are employing people. One of them is executive director of PANAFEST, Rabbi. He came here for the first time, for the first PANAFEST, saw what he saw Ghana, liked it, came back, built a business, employing people, integrated, become a role model in society. So those are some of the stories we want to tell after PANAFEST, not just where are the roots, and there are human stories that we want to tell.
Great human stories, but we need both.
We do, but I'm just saying that sometimes
I agree.
sometimes we focus
you.
too much on the
I
hard
do agree with you, because you see the point is people will keep and don't get me wrong, I certainly get it, but people will still say
Okay.
and you
But
know
let me
that
give you
we
one
know
more
that
story.
just a second, you know that this happens a lot in this country, and so when we are discussing the issue, we need to have a comprehensive view of it. Okay, please go ahead.
Let's take these people that come in. For example, I mean, on an average, how much do people spend when they come in? The numbers that are coming. I mean, PANAFEST, we're expecting almost about 1,000 people coming in just for PANAFEST. They come in, they'll sleep in hotels. The taxi drivers will get business. Fashion designers, water sellers, everybody. So the whole value chain.
Okay.
And so currently we're working with the Statistical Service on a tourism satellite account project to really understand the economic impact of some of these activities, because people just look at it and say, oh, they are making noise. But people are really coming in. Hotel occupancy rates are going up. If you currently want to get a hotel in Cape Coast, Elmina, for the whole week,
It's booked.
It's booked up to Mankasim.
I should build a hotel in Cape Coast.
Yes, you know. So these are the things that regenerate.
Right.
The
Okay. So
tourism
these are the
sector.
things that we also need to highlight.
And
You
for
know, the
us,
economic value as we go along, and that's what I just wanted to
and then
wanted
also
you to do.
for us, we're using this also to fix some of the issues around tourism. For example, the visa regime, very cumbersome. But through this, we've managed to bring on board Immigration Service, Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Interior. And so our visa on arrival, for example, has been reduced from $150 to $75 just for the year of return. The e-visa regime, which we are pushing for, has started seeing some traction. And so by the time we get into 2020 proper, after the year of return, we hope that some of the things that we want to take out, roads, we've highlighted some of them, the roads to some of the sites. For example, Kakum is one major destination.
Yeah, the roads are bad.
The last mile, the last 4 or 5 miles to Kakum is terrible.
Yeah.
It's something that we've highlighted out of this. I mean, the fixing of museums and
Have you been in touch with the roads minister though?
Oh, we are there all the time.
You're there all the time.
All the time.
I'm saying this because yesterday there was a very interesting soundbite that he gave us concerning the Lekma Road. So what does he say about the road
we
there?
understand some of the challenges that they are competing in. Some of them, for example, the Kakum Road, they've shown us contract awarded to somebody.
Okay.
The person is supposed to mobilize to sites, but some of these things are things that...
Well, if the person is not effective enough, you kick them out and you
so-
bring
but-
someone else.
so we keep
We just
pushing.
played a story about disabled persons who are contractors. Someone has one leg and he's doing the work. So yeah, give it to them. Let them do it.
Yeah, so we will do that. We know, I mean, those things, sanitation, for example, we are working with the local communities.
Yeah.
I mean, today, for example, in Elmina, there was a major cleanup by the traditional authority and assembly, highlighting the fact that we can't invite people to our country and have our gutters choked and all that.
And be doing our own thing on the shore.
So that's why we need the media also to be
We're
pushing
doing
that
our
angle.
best.
You're doing your
Yes,
best.
you are.
You are.
Thank
But
you.
we need to highlight it. That
Certainly,
sanitation,
Certainly.
some of these things need to be done. But I believe for us, the more we can talk about these things openly and get people to start understanding that this is the way tourism benefits, because we hear it's a starting point for people.
It's a starting point. I'm coming to you,
Yes,
Prof, and I
please.
just want to find out how you think that we can let this go down, because especially to the younger generation, this is how we get people to get the buy-in. By the time they're teenagers, they already know the story. They can identify with it, and they know what to do to help in this effort.
Yes.
How are we getting it down? I mean,
Well,
you're into writing.
Well, PANAFEST always has a youth day, and there are youth clubs in and around the schools in and around Elmina and Cape Coast and beyond, and that they have their own events throughout the 2 years in between PANAFEST, and that is the key. It's very, very key. They have to take it up and decide. And when you go to their events, they are writing poetry, they are performing, they are rapping, they are, and these things internalize. And that's why PANAFEST is about the arts, because the arts get you to internalize. So that's one. The second thing is that we've got to get it into our school system, what the history really is all about, and get that imbibed by the young people as they grow up. As far as the youth are concerned, I think that what we also have to do is to highlight them as entrepreneurs and so on. And we have an expo. So that expo and bazaar gives people the opportunity to show what they can do. And so those wonderful things that people are doing in small and medium scale industries as young people are things that we expect to be shown, at PANAFEST. And so there's the economic side, the educational side, and then the cultural side as well. All of this has to come together in order, to make it happen. And there have been so many things that have been done under PANAFEST. We hope will revive. We are bringing back a play, the first play that was won by somebody who was a schoolboy at the time, Kofi Akpabli, who is now one of our greatest, cultural journalists. And we are going to do it just to get young people to see that, they can be on the world stage.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really excited about this, except that we don't have all the time to talk about it. But Ms. Ajman, back to you with the list of programs, so we can call it a wrap. What are the activities lined up?
For PANAFEST, we're starting off tomorrow. We do the wreath laying from Du Bois Center to George Padmore Library, and then Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum, where we have the big Deba. We welcome in the African diaspora. Then we head off to Cape Coast on Thursday, the 25th. We have the masquerade competition between Winneba, Elmina, and Cape Coast. So you need to be there to see all the people on stilts and all that.
That's also young people.
Young people,
Great.
Then Friday is the Akwaba ceremony. We are partnering with the Ghana Navy for the first time. So they are bringing one of their boats and to do more like a reenactment. People coming out from the door of no return, go into the boat and go to Elmina Castle, where the chief would do a proper traditional welcoming them to Ghana. Very emotional. Then on Saturday is the big Deba. The president himself will be there. We have a Deba of Chiefs in the central region, and then also the National House of Chiefs are also bringing a delegation. So that is really the pinnacle of culture. Everybody is going to be there. And then we move on to the interfaith dialogue on Sunday. On Sunday, we also have Kowansa opening up a museum in Takoradi called the Bisabroa Museum. So another addition to our tourism landscape. It goes on, then the opening of the colloquium. So PANAFEST is also just not about the arts. We also have a lot of intellectual discussions. I mean, and that for me is where we start the mindset shift.
Hopefully.
And that goes on till we have the reverential night on the 31st of July, to declare the emancipation proper, and then we go to Ascend Manso for the Emancipation Day. That takes us into August.
That's a lot.
But then in August we have
That's what it is, a festival.
Yeah.
it's a festival,
Oh,
and then in
wow.
August we have several other activities. Jamestown to Jamestown. You know, the first arrival was reported 20th of August, 1619. So 20th of August, and that was in Jamestown, Virginia. 20th August, 2019. Jamestown, Accra, there's going to be a big deba. So we're working with the NAACP. They have a big delegation coming, currently about 250 of them, and there will be a big deba at Jamestown, Accra, to officially welcome them. They have a business summit and so many activities. And the good thing is most of these groups that are coming are not just doing Accra, Cape Coast. They are visiting Kumasi, up north, Salaga, and wherever there is a footprint of this church's journey, they will be there. That takes us into every month. There's something till December.
Trust me, people will forget.
Afrochella,
People forget, but
Afro
people
Nation,
can get this information on social media, right?
Yearofreturn.com.
Yearofreturn.com.
Yes.
Yearofreturn.com. I'll personally entreat you to look this up. Yearofreturn.com. You want to see what we're doing, you know, to bring the story home. Get in touch with the story. It gives you a very broad perspective of our history, of who we are and where we want to go. So I'll take your final comment on that, Prof.
Well, can there be a final comment? I'll just say, I think we're
Final words.
opening up and hoping that from this year onwards, we will participate more. We will try and get more out of it. We will get ourselves into making a new friend, making a business partner, you know, and getting to understand where we ought to be going. Be part of it. That's all I would say. Yes.
Be part of it. I certainly want to be part of it, but it's like it sounds like Cape Coast Bay giddy giddy giddy. And he certainly wants to be there. Well, I will try.
And this will fit in. Let me try.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
So what's that? Year of return. Year of return. Now I'm beginning to look like it. Upon my top.
You look
But
great.
that's okay. That's okay. Okay. So yeah, check my my cup out and then go to what's the website again?
www.yearofreturn.com.
www.yearofreturn.com, and you want to certainly follow that conversation. It's going to be big in Cape Coast and Jamestown. You need to keep your eyes on this. I can't talk enough about it. Thank you very much for coming. I've been here with Akwesi Agyemang, who is CEO of the Ghana Tourism Authority. Ms. Agyemang, thank you so much for coming. But of course, he didn't come alone. Professor Esi Sutherland is chairperson of the PANAFEST Foundation, who also came. I do really admire you a lot. So I'm really, it's a privilege to have you on the show. We look forward. We look forward to having you once again.
Thank you.
So thank you.